Last class, we looked at point slope formula, given a slope and a point. This time, we're going to be given 2 points, and so the only difference is that we're going to need to figure out what our slope is before we can use point slope form. So just as a reminder, our slope formula is y2 subtract y1 over x2 subtract x1, and our point slope formula is y subtract y1 equals m multiplied by x subtract x sub 1. And so we're going to start off first by finding our slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to go ahead and label x1 y1, x2 y2. And so I have negative 1 subtract 7 divided by 1 subtract a negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and change this to y plus 3 before I continue. Negative 1 subtract 7 is a negative 8. 1 plus 3 is 4. I divide to get a negative 2. So I'm going to write up here that my slope equals negative 2. My next step is to substitute this into point slope form. I already have one of my points labeled x1, y1. So I'm going to go ahead and use that as the point that I put into point slope form, but you can really choose either one. It doesn't matter. So I have y subtract y sub 1 equals m multiplied by x subtract x sub 1. So y subtract y sub 1, so subtract 7, equals my slope of negative 2 multiplied by x subtract a negative 3. I'm going to do the same thing. I have this double negative, so I'm going to change that to a positive. So I end with y subtract 7 equals negative 2 multiplied by x plus 3. Now the directions say to leave your final answers in slope-intercept form. So our last step is to do exactly what we did last class and rearrange things so that we get to slope-intercept form. I'm going to go ahead and distribute my negative 2. So I have y subtract 7 equals negative 2x subtract 6. I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and I get y equals negative 2x plus 1, which is my final answer. If I had chosen to use this point instead, I would actually get the exact same answer. So it doesn't matter which one you use. Let's do one more together, and then you're going to do the other two on your own and check your answers. So again, I start off by finding my slope and labeling my points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope equals my change in y, so y2 minus y1, negative 4 subtract a negative 7, divided by 3 subtract a negative 6. I'm going to go through and I see I have a couple negative negatives, so I'm going to change those to positives. So I have negative 4 plus 7, which is 3, and 3 plus 6, which is 9. I'm going to simplify my fraction to 1/3. So I know now that I have a slope of 1/3. My next step is to put it into point slope form. And again, you can choose either point. I'm actually going to choose this point because I see that my x value is 3, and I'm going to be multiplying by 1/3, so that's going to make things a little bit easier for me. So I have y subtract a negative 4 equals 1/3 multiplied by x subtract 3. Again, change this to a positive. I have y plus 4 equals, now I'm going to go ahead and distribute 1/3 x. A third of 3 is a negative 1. Go ahead and subtract 4 from either side, and I get y equals 1/3 x subtract 5. All right, go ahead and try the next 4 examples, and then you're going to go into the Delta math for your homework tonight.